Hi there, and welcome back to the Beach House Garden Diaries. It's now December, and instead of northeast, the sun now rises from southeast. We are now just 15 days away from the winter solstice, where the sun doesn't rise more than 8 degrees above the horizon. This leaves us with about 5.5 hours of daylight, and despite the sunny weather that we have time to time, the temperatures are around 0 degrees Celsius. The ground has been frozen already for a couple of months, and the only colors in the garden are coming from the rowan berries, purple kale, flowering quince fruits, or wild rose fruits. Other than that, the sky is often grey. The ground is covered with a sheer layer of snow and is completely frozen. The sunny days are mostly brought by the wind. On these days, the grasses start to dance to the sound of wind and waves. The reeds on the beach are completely brown, and the strong winds from the north have piled huge algae and reed piles to the beach. On these days, the wind cold is really a thing in here, so one cannot stay at beach for too long. And then came the 20th of December, with no wind, with no snow, and even the ground, as it was about 10 degrees Celsius outside. I just rushed outside as I still had some flower bulbs to be planted. Today is 20th of December, and I have purchased myself some tulips and narcissus, and I was struggling to put them down because the ground has been frozen over the couple of months or so. But today is a very warm day. It's about 10 degrees outside, and I can plant the flower bulbs. So here we go, 20th of December. The only limitation this time was the daylight. So I was trying to be as efficient as possible. And I decided to plant these bulbs to the area which my mom had just freshly digged in the autumn time, as this is usually the first one to melt in the warm spring sun. I held these tiny little bulbs of crocus in my freezer, and they started to already grow. And imagine that, if there would be just such a splash of color in the spring, it's going to be amazing. And here are the exact varieties that I planted. And this is the day of winter solstice. And I decided to cover my plants. These are native species of junipers, and I got them from my friend. However, as I planted them in the middle of July, which is the hottest and driest month of the year, they did get severely damaged, despite of all the watering and covering that I did to protect them. So here I'm repeating the covering part in order to protect the plants from the burning spring sun. I'm also covering up all the other junipers that I have planted this year. Here's one more in the front yard, and even the mint junips close to the main gate. And these here are mint junips, which got so severely damaged last year by the spring sun. And even though I was planning to move them away from here, I didn't just have time. So this year I'm going to cover them and not let this burning happen again. And when I'm lucky with the time next year, I'm gonna remove them from here. And just like that, it was the day of the Christmas Eve. There still was one very important task to be finished, and that was installing the bird feeder. Not really sure how this is going to behave in the winds, but I'm hoping the best, and when necessary, I'm just going to secure it a little further. Bon appetit, birdies! And it was then time to prepare for the Christmas Eve. That meant first bringing some firewood. I'm very lucky to have a fireplace in my house, as over the past couple of months, my ground heating pump has stopped working, and it's so nice to have an opportunity to still warm the house even if technology is failing. And these 3 bags of firewood should last me at least 3 days with the weather like that, so it's not so bad. And the coziness of the real fire, of course, is unparalleled. And what would be a Christmas Eve without the gingerbread? I'm using my grandmother's recipe to make the real Estonian gingerbreads. I think it's the selection of the spices that differentiates the gingerbreads between different countries. I have left the original recipe to the description box for you. For a start, you need 125 grams of dark sugar syrup and warm it up in a pot using low heat. Then add 85 grams of sugar to the syrup and stir until melted. Take off from the heat. Then mix all your flours. You need 300 grams. And of course, a regular wheat flour would be the best. But I eat gluten-free, so here's an alternative for that. Consisting of 150 grams of buckwheat flour, 75 grams of gluten-free flour, 25 grams of pumpkin seed flour, and 50 grams of almond flour. Don't forget to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Then mix well and add the butter. I used just 50 grams of butter here, although the original recipe calls for 100 grams. Let the butter melt and stir well. Then, when the mixture has cooled down, add 1 egg and stir that well. Then it's finally time to mix everything together. Make sure to scrape all your mixture out of the pot, otherwise it may happen that half of the spices would be still in the pot. It does take some time to mix it all together. Finally, use your hands to form a tiny ball and leave this to cool for an hour or so. Add a little flour if the mixture is too sticky, but don't overcompensate. Yay, done! But it has to sit in a freezer for an hour or so. So I'm using the time to quickly bake another cake in the meantime. And while we are waiting, let me introduce you the Estonian Christmas crown. I made that myself a couple of years ago, and that was supposed to bring luck. So I have been hanging this on my Christmas tree ever since. And finally, it's time to roll out the mixture and bake the cookies. For one tray of cookies, you actually need half of the batter that we made. I use my grandmother's cookie cutter here, and I'm sure every Estonian can relate. I prefer a simple form of cookie cutters, and I usually make a tiny hole in the middle of the cookie so that I can fill it with some crushed caramel candies. It's a bit simpler to crush the candies through the paper with a hammer, but I'm using a knife in here. I like the extra crunch that the caramel candies give, but it's completely optional. Preheat the oven to 180 degrees and cook your cookies for about 7 or 8 minutes, and the less you cook, the softer the cookies will be. And this is how they come out from the oven. I like them on the crunchy side, and I also use some sugar glazing to decorate them. I hope you have had time to enjoy the holiday season and meet your family and friends. Or just take some time off, roll on the couch, read some good book and sip some hot chocolate. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you decided to cook the cookies yourself and how they came out. I wish you all the best and hope to see you back in here. Take care.